Good afternoon, folks. This is Fred Campos, owner of DFW Website Designers. This is episode number 223 on this June the 7th, 2021, Monday, of your 3 business tips at 3 o'clock in around 3 minutes. Today, we're going to talk about being a quitter. I bet that's something you don't hear a lot about as a positive characteristic. We're going to talk about hiring tasks, training substitutes, and replacing yourself. Small business owners, many of us were in the freelance business. Many of us were solopreneurs, individuals doing a craft and service, and somehow we stumbled into being business owners, and we want to grow it to the next level. We've been talking a lot about the mindset of a business owner, the planning of a business owner, the thinking, the visionaries, and today I want to talk about a business owner needs to be a quitter. Now, I know what you're saying. That's totally crazy. But here's the thing. Let's say you have a small business, say you have a couple of employees, and you were diagnosed with some terminal disease and was only given about 15 to 30 days to live. I bet you, business owners, you would find a way to make that work. You would go into a huge training process of trying to figure out how that business is going to sustain your family without you. You would be looking for a way to quit. And that's what we're going to talk a lot about today. Business tip number 1. As a small business owner, you do everything initially from taking out the trash to making the sales to producing the product to providing the service to trading time for money, right? Before you started growing. But what you need to do is start hiring tasks. And what I mean by that, business tip number 1, is you want to hire pieces of that out. You want to hire an accountant to do the taxes. You want to hire a sales rep to make the sales. You want to hire another person to help you with the product or service. You're eventually going to take every task that you currently do, and you're going to outsource that to an employee, to a VA, to a service, something like that. This, again, is if you want to grow your business, right? You want to be something other than yourself, right? Number 2, you're going to train in substitutes. Think back to when you were in school. You had your main teacher, and if that teacher was going to be out, they put in a substitute teacher, someone who was qualified to teach you but would fill in the gaps, right? And if you remember, substitutes were never quite as good as the real teacher because they were only there for a day or two. In your particular case, you want to take the tasks that you do every day, business owners, and you want to break them up and write them down and figure it out on how somebody else could sub in for you. Now, your initial reaction is they're never going to be as good as you. As a web designer, they're not as fast as me. They don't do things as good as me. But you need to train those substitutes to take over and be the best that they can be. That means you need to write down procedures like we talked about yesterday with systems. You need to have things in place, good training material, and invest the time into people so that they can substitute you. And why are you doing all of this? Business tip number 3, you've got to replace yourself. You cannot be a cog in your organization. You've got to be the business owner, the visionary, the person out in front. And the only way to do that is to grow your organization where you are not involved in doing the daily work. So that you could take a vacation, the business would prosper. So that you could die and the business would prosper. So that you could step away from it and the business would prosper. This is what I'm working at. This is what I'm working on right now. And this is the mindset of a good, profitable business owner. Again, this steps on a lot of my toes. Too many of the tasks I'm involved in. I'm still too much the cog in my own organization, but I am trying to transition out of this. Anything I'm learning, I throw at you, throw it over the fence so that you can do it because I want you to be awesome. Now go back to sleep.